Consider for a moment that there are places in this world that have nothing to do with geography. They are not marked on any map. You cannot find them by looking out a window or driving down the street. These places exist entirely in the mind, in the way we structure our lives, in the invisible constructs we build around ourselves. Yet they are more real, more powerful, more dangerous than any physical location could ever be. Many of us spend our lives wandering through these places without realizing we are trapped. We feel worn out, anxious, empty, and we blame ourselves. We think something is wrong with us. But what if the problem is not you at all? What if you are simply living in the wrong psychological neighborhood? In this talk, I want to speak to you about 7 such places that destroy who you truly are, not through force or violence, but through something far more subtle. They erode you by making you forget yourself, by teaching you to abandon your own nature, and by convincing you that the mask you wear is more important than the face beneath it. The first dangerous place is the Hall of Mirrors. In this place, everyone around you reflects back only what you already believe. Every conversation seems to confirm what you think. Every opinion matches your own. Every fear is validated and amplified by a chorus of voices that sound remarkably like your own. You might find this comfortable, even pleasant, and that is precisely why it is so dangerous. The human mind is not meant to live in perfect agreement with itself. It is meant to be challenged, tested, stretched. When you surround yourself only with people who think exactly as you do, something curious happens. Your mind does not grow stronger. It becomes more rigid, more brittle, more afraid. I once met a man who spent all his time with others who shared his exact views on everything: politics, religion, the proper way to live. He thought he was being prudent to stay among his own kind, but he did not realize that his capacity to think was quietly shrinking. Each day his world grew a little smaller, a little more frightening, a little more dependent on the group to tell him what was real. Here is the problem with the Hall of Mirrors. You become terrified of different ideas. A new thought feels like an attack. A different perspective feels like a betrayal. You become so identified with your beliefs that to question them feels like dying. So you cling ever tighter to the mirrors, demanding that they show you only what you want to see. When you live in the Hall of Mirrors, you are not really thinking at all. You are simply repeating. You are not growing. You are calcifying. You are not becoming more yourself. You are becoming less. The way out is simple, though not easy. You must deliberately seek out voices that disturb you, not to argue with them, not to prove them wrong, but simply to feel your own mind stretch, to remember what it is like not to know, to wonder, and to question even your most cherished certainties. The second dangerous place is the arena of comparison. This is where you measure your worth against everyone else's achievements, status, possessions, and success. Nothing you do is ever quite enough because someone, somewhere, has always done it better, faster, or more impressively. The arena of comparison is peculiar because it disguises itself as motivation. We tell ourselves that comparing ourselves to others will inspire us to improve. But watch what actually happens. Instead of inspiration, you become exhausted. Every achievement feels hollow because it is not good enough compared to someone else's. Every success is immediately followed by the question, but what about them? I recall a woman who received a long-sought promotion at work, something she had been striving to achieve for years. Instead of feeling joy, she could only think about a colleague who had been promoted to an even higher position. Her accomplishment felt empty because someone else had achieved more. Do you see the trap? She had given away her power to feel satisfied with her own life. This whole idea is built on a fundamental confusion. It treats life as if it were a race with a single finish line, as if there were some objective measure by which all human lives could be ranked. But this is nonsense. Your life is not comparable to anyone else's. You are not in competition with the rest of humanity. You are on your own path, playing your own game. When you live in the arena of comparison, you stop pursuing what actually brings you joy, and you start chasing what brings recognition. You stop listening to your own desires and instead perform for an imaginary audience. You become so busy keeping score that you forget to actually live. The way out requires something radical. You must stop measuring altogether. Not just occasionally, but completely. You must learn to do things simply because they bring you joy, not because they will impress anyone. You must recover the child's capacity to play without keeping score, to create without needing applause, to exist without constantly calculating your rank. The third place is what I call the theater of masks. Here, authenticity is punished and performance is rewarded. You learn to show only the parts of yourself that are acceptable, impressive, or useful. Everything else is hidden behind a carefully constructed facade. Now, we all wear masks to some degree. This is natural, even necessary. You do not pour your soul out to the grocery clerk or share your deepest fears at a business meeting. But the theater of masks is different. In this place, the mask becomes so thick, so permanent, that you forget there was ever a face beneath it. I once knew a man who worked in an environment where showing any weakness meant career death. He learned to laugh at jokes that were not funny, to agree with ideas he opposed, to hide every part of himself that did not fit the approved image. After years of this performance, something terrifying happened. He no longer knew who he truly was. The mask had become the only identity he could recognize. This is what the theater of masks does. It does not just hide your true self. It erases it slowly, imperceptibly, until one day you reach for your true self and find nothing there. You have become a hollow performance, a walking costume with no one inside. The most insidious part is how exhausting it becomes. Every interaction requires careful calculation. What can I say? What must I hide? How should I appear? You come home at the end of the day feeling drained, not from genuine engagement, but from the constant effort of being someone you are not. And here is the cruel joke. The very things you are trying to achieve with this performance, connection, belonging, acceptance, can only be found through authenticity. The performance creates exactly the isolation it is trying to avoid. You find yourself surrounded by people who do not really know you, in relationships that feel strangely empty, receiving approval that means nothing because it is not really for you. The way out of this theater requires courage. You must begin by taking off the mask carefully at first, testing to see who stays and who leaves. Yes, some people will leave, those who preferred your performance to your real self. But this is not a loss. This is liberation, because the people who remain and the new ones who arrive will be in relationship with you, not with your costume. The fourth place is the room of silence. And not the kind of silence that holds contemplative stillness where wisdom grows. No, this is toxic silence, where pain is buried, needs are denied, and truth becomes too dangerous to speak. Many of us grew up in families that operated in this way. Everything seemed fine on the surface. No screaming, no obvious dysfunction. But beneath the pleasant facade, everyone was slowly suffocating. Feelings were not expressed. Problems were not addressed. Needs were swallowed and hidden. The unspoken rule was simple. Do not rock the boat. In the room of silence, you learn that having emotional needs is selfish, that expressing pain is a weakness, and that the way to maintain peace is to never be honest about what hurts. And so you become very skilled at suffering quietly, at pretending that everything is fine, at convincing yourself that numbness is the same as peace. But here is what really happens in this place. Your emotional needs do not disappear when you ignore them. They accumulate in your body, in your nervous system, creating anxiety you cannot explain and depression that seems to come out of nowhere. You feel lonely even when you are surrounded by family because no one is truly seeing you. You are all performing this elaborate dance of not noticing each other's pain. I once knew a family that prided itself on never fighting. They thought this meant they were close. But when I spoke to them individually, each person felt desperately alone. The mother was deeply depressed, but could not say so. The father was overwhelmed, but had no one to tell. The children learned that their feelings were inconvenient disruptions to the family's carefully maintained image of perfection. The room of silence teaches you to cope with pain rather than heal from it. It trains you to ask, how can I better tolerate this hurt, rather than how can I address what is actually wrong? And so you develop all sorts of clever strategies for managing discomfort while never really resolving anything. The way out requires breaking the silence gently but firmly. It means saying out loud the things that have been hidden, not with anger or blame, but with simple honesty. I am hurting. I need help. This is not working for me. It means risking the false peace for the possibility of real connection. And yes, the family system will resist. Silence is comfortable for those who fear honesty. But your liberation is worth the discomfort. The fifth place is the storm of noise. It is the opposite of toxic silence. Here you are bombarded constantly with information, stimulation, demands, and distractions. There is always something to read, something to discuss, something demanding your attention. You fill every quiet moment with activity because stillness feels unbearable. You might think this sounds like modern life, and you would be partly right. But this place has existed long before our current era. It is anywhere you use external noise to avoid internal truth. For example, reading the newspaper obsessively to avoid thinking about your marriage, staying endlessly busy with social engagements to escape your own company, or filling your mind with other people's problems so you do not have to face your own. The storm of noise is seductive because it feels productive. You are staying informed, staying busy, staying engaged, but watch what happens to your mind in this place. You consume enormous amounts of information, but retain almost none of it. You have opinions about everything but a deep understanding of nothing. You are exhausted from constant mental activity, but cannot point to anything you have actually accomplished. I once knew a man who read 3 newspapers every morning and spent his evenings in endless discussions about current events. He prided himself on being well informed. But when I asked him what he truly understood, what wisdom he had gained from all this consumption, he had nothing to say. He had been filling his mind with noise to avoid the silence where real thinking happens. The storm of noise keeps you in a state of constant reaction. You are always responding to the latest thing, the newest crisis, the most recent outrage. There is no time for contemplation, no time for integration, no time for allowing experiences to settle into understanding. And without that settling, nothing you learn actually becomes part of you. It just passes through, leaving you feeling full but somehow still empty. The way out is frightening because it requires turning off the noise and sitting with whatever arises. At first, anxiety will flood in. All the things you have been avoiding will rush to the surface. This is exactly why you kept the noise going in the first place. But if you can stay with the discomfort, something remarkable happens. Your mind begins to clear. Your thoughts become your own again. You start to hear that quiet inner voice that the storm would otherwise drown out. The sixth place is the chamber of self-betrayal. This is where you systematically abandon your own truth, your own needs, your own instincts. It happens so gradually that you do not even notice. You say yes when everything inside you screams no. You remain in situations that drain you because leaving feels too difficult. You choose what is expected over what is authentic, what is safe over what is true. In this chamber, you become skilled at ignoring yourself. When someone asks you what you want, you genuinely do not know, because you have spent so long considering only what others want, what seems practical, what will avoid conflict. Your gut instincts, which were once clear and strong, become faint whispers that you have learned to disregard. I once met a woman who spent 20 years in a career she did not care about, married to a man she did not love, living in a city that depressed her. When I asked why, she said it made sense. Her family approved, the job was secure, the marriage was stable. She had built her entire life on what seemed reasonable to everyone else, while completely ignoring what felt right to her. This is what the chamber of self-betrayal does. It convinces you that maturity means ignoring your desires, that responsibility means betraying your truth, that being a good person means abandoning yourself. And so you make 1,000 small compromises, each one barely noticeable, until you wake up one day and realize you are living someone else's life entirely. The cruelest part is that society often rewards self-betrayal. You are called mature when you ignore your own needs, responsible when you sacrifice your own happiness, and selfless when you put everyone else first. But this is not virtue. This is slow spiritual death. You cannot love others authentically while betraying yourself. You cannot give from an empty well. The way out requires something that may feel selfish at first. You must begin checking in with yourself again. Ask yourself, what do I actually want? What does this feel like in my body? What is my truth, regardless of what others expect? And then, most frightening of all, you must begin making choices based on these answers. Some people will be disappointed. This is inevitable, but your life belongs to you, not to their expectations. The seventh and most dangerous place is the basement of shadows. This is the internal space where you have locked away all the parts of yourself you are too afraid or ashamed to face. Every painful memory, every shameful thought, every quality you have decided is unacceptable. Down into the basement they go. You might think this sounds like a good strategy. Push down the bad stuff and focus on being good. But here is what actually happens. What you bury does not stay buried. It grows stronger in the darkness, influencing your behavior in ways you do not understand. You find yourself overreacting to small things, sabotaging your own success, repeating patterns you swore you would never repeat. You cannot figure out why, because the real cause is locked in the basement. I once knew a man who despised his father's anger. He swore he would never be like that and prided himself on being calm and controlled. But then he had children, and to his horror he found himself raging at them over tiny things. He had locked his own anger in the basement, thinking he had gotten rid of it, but it had simply been waiting in the dark, gathering strength until it burst out in exactly the way he feared. This is what the basement of shadows does. Every quality you reject in yourself does not disappear. It goes underground and starts running your life from the unconscious. You judge others harshly for traits you secretly fear in yourself. You attract situations that force you to confront what you have been avoiding. You become, quite literally, possessed by the parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge. But here is the remarkable thing. The basement of shadows does not just contain what you fear. It also holds tremendous power, creativity, and vitality. That anger you buried might become passionate advocacy once you face it. That sadness might become deep empathy. That shame might become fierce compassion for others who struggle with similar issues. The way out of this basement requires courage. Not avoidance, not denial, but the courage to go down into the darkness with a light and see what is actually there. Not to judge it, not to fight it, but simply to acknowledge it. Yes, this is also part of me. And in that acknowledgement, the shadow loses its power to control you unconsciously. You become whole again, integrated, no longer at war with yourself. So here we are, 7 places that destroy your true self, the hall of mirrors that makes you rigid and afraid, the arena of comparison that makes your achievements feel meaningless, the theater of masks that erases your authentic face, the room of silence that buries your truth, the storm of noise that drowns your inner voice, the chamber of self-betrayal where you gradually abandon yourself, and the basement of shadows where you hide from your own wholeness. Recognizing these places is only the beginning. The question now is, how do you leave them? How do you reclaim yourself? The answer is both simple and terrifying. You must become conscious. You must look honestly at where you are, not where you pretend to be, not where you wish you were, but where you actually spend your psychological time. Which of these places do you inhabit daily? You must then begin to leave them. Not all at once, not dramatically, but deliberately. Limit the time you spend in toxic environments. Set boundaries with people who demand your mask. Create space for silence where your inner voice can speak. Make small choices based on your own truth rather than external expectations. Begin the slow work of integrating what you have hidden in the basement. This will not make you popular. People who are comfortable in these places will feel threatened by your departure. They will call you selfish for setting boundaries, weird for being authentic, antisocial for needing silence, irresponsible for following your truth. Let them. Your freedom is worth their discomfort. And here is what you will discover on the other side. When you leave these dangerous places, you do not just feel better, you become different. Your relationships deepen because they are based on truth rather than performance. Your work becomes meaningful because it comes from your authentic self. Your mind clears because it is no longer filled with noise and comparison. You feel alive again because you have stopped abandoning yourself. But perhaps most importantly, you give others permission to leave as well. When you stop participating in these toxic patterns, you create an opening for others to escape. Your family might begin to speak the truth. Your friends might remove their own masks. Your workplace might become more human, not because you preached at them, but simply because you showed them that another way is possible. You see, these dangerous places persist because we collectively agree to inhabit them. But when enough individuals choose freedom, the whole system shifts. One person's liberation creates ripples that spread far beyond what we can see. So ask yourself now, which of these places have you called home? Where are you spending your psychological energy? What would it take to leave? Because here is the beautiful truth. The Hall of Mirrors. Walk toward a different voice. The arena of comparison, stop keeping score. The theater of masks, take off the costume. The room of silence, speak your truth. The storm of noise, turn it off. The chamber of self-betrayal, choose yourself. The basement of shadows, descend with curiosity instead of fear. Your true self is not destroyed. It is simply buried under layers of accommodation, performance, and fear. But it is still there, waiting patiently for you to remember who you actually are beneath all the costumes and compromises. The meaning of your life is not to successfully navigate these dangerous places. The meaning is to recognize them, leave them, and discover what remains when you are no longer defending, performing, or hiding. What remains is you, the real you, the one who has always been there, watching and waiting, ready to live again. And when you find that self, you will wonder how you ever mistook these prisons for homes. You will see clearly that freedom was always available, always just one honest choice away. The door was never locked. You were simply afraid to open it. But now you know. The 7 dangerous places exist, yes, but so does the way out. And the way out begins with seeing where you are, admitting it honestly, and taking one small step toward the truth. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but now. Always now. This is your invitation. This invitation is not to perfection, not to some distant achievement, but to the simple act of coming home to yourself, to living from your center instead of from fear, to playing your own music instead of dancing to someone else's tune. These dangerous places will always be there, offering their false comforts and familiar prisons, but you do not have to accept their invitation. You can choose differently. You can walk out of the Hall of Mirrors and into genuine conversation. You can leave the arena of comparison and pursue what truly brings you joy. You can remove the mask in the theater of masks and risk being seen. You can break the silence and speak your truth. You can turn off the noise and listen to yourself. You can stop betraying yourself and start honoring your own knowing. You can descend into the basement of shadows and integrate your shadows. This is not easy work, but it is the only work that truly matters. What good is a life spent in these places? What is the point of surviving if you have lost yourself in the process? Your true self is calling, not from some distant future, but from right here, right now, beneath all the layers of protection and performance. It has been waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to come home. The question is, will you?